mountain greenery where God paints a scenery, just two crazy people together. While you
So this picture was taken in the courtyard of my house, and I noticed that some of the pieces of the bricks, especially in the corners, have been broken off. Also, the top surface of the brick is very uneven, sometimes it's missing whole sections, and some large pieces are missing, but also some very small pieces are missing on the brick as well. So these observations can be used to come up with an explanation for what might have happened in the past. When brickmakers make the bricks, they do not intentionally make them with cracks and pieces missing. This is similar to how we decided which object was older in our lecture based off of cracks and visible signs of aging. The pieces being broken off of these bricks tells me that something had to break the rocks into smaller pieces. It didn't just happen by itself. And I live in Illinois, so the weathers are very cold, snowy, and icy, just like they are in Ohio. So it's possible that over the years, water has seeped into the cracks of the brick because it's a porous material, and frozen, which may force the bricks apart into separate pieces. It's also possible that maybe some of the bricks, or the pieces that broke off, were caused by human interactions, like dropping something on them, or constantly walking on them, or even scooting our outdoor furniture on top of the bricks. Additionally, the ground under the brick moves. In some sections of the courtyard, the bricks are buckled up because of tree roots, so it is possible that the ground changing under these bricks, maybe changes in moisture or an animal burrowing underneath, has caused the bricks to crack and change over the years. And even though these bricks are literally in my backyard, I have not really taken the time to look at them and notice these changes over time. So this makes me wonder about a couple things. If I really would pay attention to these bricks, would I ever notice a stark change if I just happened to catch it maybe on the day before water froze into it and the day after? Would the piece of the brick still be there, or would it just blow away? So will these changes be stark, or is this all gradual? And what will this look like in 10 years? Will it need to be redone, or will it kind of look the same that it does now?
let blue skies be your coverlet. When it rains, we'll laugh at the weather.
So this second picture seems like just a normal family beach picture, but it becomes something much more puzzling when it's analyzed further. So if we sort of focus in on the background of this picture, we start to wonder what made the sand in the background get the way that it did, because normally in a beach you just think of it being some flat, really sandy, perfect sand leading out to the ocean. But in this picture, I noticed that the sand under our feet looks very normal, but it suddenly forms a wall of sand behind us that has very uneven sides, and it looks like there's almost some sort of layering in the sand on the sides, and there's roots and grass growing on the top. So I know that the area we go in Michigan has a lot of winter storms because of the lake. The waves are very calm during the day, and there's hardly ever any action. But if you go at sunset, the waves get very rough and come up high on the shore when the winds are strong. Over the years, this sand cliff, you could call it, has become more and more dramatic. The first years that we went there, the beach was almost completely flat, and over the years, this wall has built up. So I think that during the storms, the waves must be powerful enough to crash onto the beach and pull the sand out to the lake. It couldn't obviously happen all in one wave, which would explain how it's layered and different. It would happen at different points in time. Also, it's possible that wind could play a factor here and blow the sand on the edges to create the layering. If the wind hits it just right, it could pull some of the sand off as well. And that thought made me think of when we did the cornmeal exercise in our lab, where we were blowing across the top of the cornmeal with a straw, just like wind would, and it was creating sort of layering and different heights where the sand would settle. And when I think about it, I think it's interesting that this makes sense because the sand has to go somewhere, and obviously if the waves are pulling it back out to the lake it has to deposit somewhere. And off this beach, there's actually a sandbar within swimming distance. So I think it's possible that the sand has then settled and made this sandbar. And so since I've been here and can observe it over some years, I can see how important it is for scientists to use observational data instead of just labels and laws that they follow to make sense of the world.
When it rains, we'll laugh at the weather, and if you're good.
In this final picture, I am at the same beach, and I notice that the sand is smooth toward the water, but then it gets rocky as it moves away from the water. There are both larger pieces of rock and tiny pieces of rock that look almost like sand. Some of the rocks are wet because the waves have hit them recently. It appears that the wave is kind of receding in this picture, but the ones farther up have settled and look like they maybe are bigger and they're dry. So I noticed the shapes, textures, and colors of the rocks. I can see them standing out, just like the food for thought mentions. So using these observations, I can create an explanation for what might have happened in the past and is currently happening now. So when I first started going to this beach, it was all sand, but over the years, more and more rocks have collected on the beach, but the rocks are never the same rocks there. We love to collect them, and we've never gotten a rock that looks the exact same. If you stand and watch on the beach, you can see that the water comes ashore and grabs rocks from the shore, swirls them around, and then pushes them back out in a different place. Because all these rocks end up on the beach, I think that the waves pull rocks from the bottom of the lake floor farther out and then slowly push them into the shore. This would make sense how they get there gradually and not all at once. The waves retreating must then pull the rocks back out to the lake, so this process can be repeated. Because of this, I noticed that the rocks are very smooth and they're really great to skip on the water because they've been refined so much by the constant movement of the water and being placed on the beach.
Bless our mountain greenery, far from life's machinery. Bless our